Asiad was explaining how in order to have a safe system, in order to get in front of essentially hackers and this new frontier of counterfeiters, they've created the Yamzu token essentially, and this is maximum security. Not only is the Yamzu token can't be replicated because it's a technology, it's a token, but they're doing great things on security. Talk about what Yamzu is doing. You did talk about it right there, but love to hear more. And it's something that we don't hear about. You're a tournament hosting platform, and your main purpose is the security of counterfeiting, of obvious stuff, hacking, which is not fun for any gamer. I think where we got cut off, and maybe you can just bring this back in and then answer this next question, is you were talking about the game that got hacked, that constantly gets hacked. The loot boxes get hacked. Touch on that and why that's a big problem when it's a big game. And I'm sure you've heard of the Warzone hackers, the PC Warzone hackers, the Call of Duty Warzone hackers. That's a big problem for console gamers, that it's something like 80 times faster if you're a PC gamer for certain things. Talk about how Yamzu is tackling that.
Well, when we started in 2016, we didn't have so much blockchain at the moment. And our first barrier of defense, and one of the reasons that we were successful with the gamer community, is to make a comfortable environment for people. And I remember our rules of engagement that lots of female gamers liked. It was the first rule: don't be a dick, don't be a drunken uncle, clans and no cults. So one of the toxic things with internet, and it spills over to gaming, is everyone can be a douchebag online. And by having strict rules, by giving the freedom to the gamer to control it. What do I mean by that? Because we're not only talking about hackers. Like if you're going to experience anything, if it's a competition, race, video game, you want to play with people that are on par with you, maybe a little bit better, a little bit worse, so you can feel a satisfaction if you're winning or losing. And you don't want to play against someone that's going to destroy you. That takes away all the fun. So we give the gamers at an early stage the freedom to create events and tournaments. And that sounds small, but it is incremental because, it's tremendous. Because what happens is when you go in and create a game, you can set a password immediately. And once you set the password, it's impossible to bypass it, to our knowledge, because then you need to hack the game infrastructure, and that does not exist. You cannot jump into someone else's game. And the last step was adding the tokens, because Warzone, that's a good example. PUBG, a lot of these where in-game items have a monetary value that could be exchanged into fiats. These kind of things happen. And not only that, there is this game trading platform called G2A. I'm sure you heard about it. It's one of the most disliked trading platforms because lots of people steal credit card information and they start selling games there. And developers say, like, stop doing that. Like, no, we can't control it. And just, what are you talking about? The guy ordered 50,000 copies. Like, doesn't that raise a red flag?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point for all the viewers out there. These big brands, sometimes it's not the bigger is better. And it's sometimes just like in the world of finance, too big to fail is not a good thing. It hurts other parts of the economies of scale in the industry. And G2A is a good example. I don't hate anybody for what they do, but he brought up a good point about the fraud, about the credit card. And because of the lack of sophistication on some of these platforms, stealing 50,000 credit cards on the dark web and going and purchasing them on this type of platform will be less detected than on like apple.com. So it's easier said than done. That's why he brought up that example and why we're talking about it. It's not a bashing. It's to understand that, 50,000 units were sold for gaming codes. This is a problem.
Exactly. And I mean, you can get away with a lot due to brand loyalty. I use this t-shirt example, and whoever is listening, don't feel bad about this. We're mortal, so don't feel guilty at all. T-shirt is the most insignificant thing that you can buy. Like, you can be with or without it. You really do not care. Still, people buy cheap t-shirts that they don't need, that are built out of sweatshops. You know for sure that if a t-shirt costs like $5 something, that comes from modern human slavery, and you don't care about it. So
and it's got gold flakes and triple embroidery imprint, and you're like, man, I got a good deal.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't care about a t-shirt when it has that human cost, do you honestly think you're going to care about something like video games that gives you this incredible pleasure for hours and hours? There you can be like, all right, maybe this gaming company is shady, maybe this thing is crappy, and so on and so on. So that is also becoming like a toxic culture. And what happens is once it becomes too much, people abandon the games. Counter-Strike that I love so much, one of the biggest things that's plaguing it is cheaters. And many people play private sessions. PUBG, many people abandon it, not because it's a bad game, because it's cheaters. Warzone is the same thing. And these things kill the games. And the game developers, they could, control that so easily. Like you could put a premium where you put your credit card, you put your phone number, and you buy like a blockchain token. So if you hack and your account is banned, then you need to get a new credit card, a new phone number, and a new blockchain. And that's the way to put it. And by bringing these things, we add value, because I think a lot of times people lose perspective. PUBG, awesome game, but when you make $800 million a year, you just, let's keep doing what we're doing. By providing the secure and safe environment, that's our added value, because our users know, all right, I come here, I play, there's nothing weird, and if there's anything weird, I just report it, or I create my own game and just invite my friends. So it is an easy feature to add, and I don't understand why many are not adopting it, because it adds an incredible value to your users.
Yeah, that's very important to note, is that, you're gonna get to a point of like Warzone. It got so big so quick, and then really good players, the best players in the world, were getting, like, not they were getting hacked, but they were playing, and they were playing against hacked players. So you're shooting, and you're shooting multiple times, and you're clearly, and that's a problem when it bleeds over from the fun aspect to the professional aspect. Because remember, and you know this, I'm talking about the audience to remember that 90% of us out there watch streamers. And the streamers are the professionals. And if they're going to see hacking problems and they're streaming to 30, 40,000 people at a time, that's magnified by millions when it's all said and done. So it's not just an inherent one versus me, Asiad, and then we go and we say, oh man, we just got hacked, on this game. It's bigger than that. It's way bigger than
that. And there is another issue, and this is factual, so they can't sue me. There is a new game that came out from Riot Game, Valorant. I think I'm pronouncing it.
Valorant, yeah.
That is really cool. I played it. But even when it was in closed beta, there was a streamer that got shut down because he was hacked. It was in closed beta and the hacks were out. And there is an outrage online because their anti-cheat is relatively invasive, because it goes really deep into your system. And people like, if the streamer got banned and they already have hacks when it's not even open for the public, like, why do you need to dig so deep into my PC? And that's where we need to come back to, like, something as convenient as a blockchain. Like, this is a token, this is a blockchain, and there are also these human elements. Like, once you do a winning, you're not allowed on our platform, you're not allowed to do a withdrawal. You have a cool-off period of 3 weeks. Everything's played on the servers. We see that, like, if you're suddenly like winning, destroying the team, like, no, this is way shady. And most importantly, I think the most important aspect is the human factor, because the technology cannot protect us from everything. By giving people the freedom, like, I'm going to play against Kevin. If you're cheating, then I know you're a douchebag, because we're friends and we'll never play together. And these aspects are also very important, because no matter what kind of technology we have, by doing what we want, that also gives us a strength. The blockchain is just an extra accessory that should be used really easily, but we can also do these simple things that we can facilitate to the end users. Like Instagram, you can only let people that you like follow you, so you don't get these weird stalkers, and they figure a way to go around it. It's not a technical miracle, but you just need to implement it. And we're not the best in the world. We do our best. My developers and Christian, my co-founder, he's a genius in my eyes. Why we are the way we are is because we can't afford to mess up. We never had the luxury of someone saying, guys, this is awesome. Here's $10 million and we rent the fanciest office and things are going to work out. So the community literally pays for the rent, pays for our food, does everything. And without them, we are nothing. So we cannot hassle the community. And I remember when I studied economics, I met this guy. He was one of the smartest people that I've ever met. And he said, take your brand. If you take Star Wars, for example, like it's one of the most beloved brands in the United States. And they could do like the new Star Wars 10 super exclusive DVD that's not even out in the movie theater. People still gonna order it. And then once they get the box, it could just say, haha. They would have made money, but the brand is completely polluted, so no one will touch it again.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think gets lost so many times. People think about, all right, this is only the numbers, but it's not only the short-term gains, it's the long-term gains that are incredibly important. I'm sure Warzone, that publisher, their next game, it will not be popular because people are going to know it's going to be hacked. That's my guess.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of good points on anti-hack, anti-cheating, anti-hacking software, and the fact that some of the biggest developers in the world seem to shortchange that one budget line. Whether it's not, I mean, it's not on purpose. It's not like they sit back and say, you know what, I hope we get hacked. But in life, nothing good comes if you're not copied, right? So if you're a university like Harvard, people sometime in your history copied your degree. And then it became valuable because people started copying. Or like CDs or software. Microsoft Office is the #1 most copied software in the entire universe. If you're good, you get cheated on or hacked or copied. Can the case in point be made for some of the biggest developers, PUBG, Call of Duty, Epic, not Epic, Epic is Fortnite, but they're spending money for their gameplay, but could it be argued that they're shortchanging the anti-cheating side, not entirely on purpose, but not entirely not on purpose either, so that there's more engagement, more involvement? You hacked our system, which took a long time. They got hacked in April, and because a lot of people had time online, the aimbot took over and finally got into Valorant. And then Valorant came out and quickly solved the problem and said, hey, if anybody can solve these hacker problems, here's a 100K bounty reward. So they're doing kind of like the Binance. Remember, Binance got hacked. They said, hey, we'll give you $1 million to anybody who can find it. And they got really hacked. But as we know in blockchain, 99% of those hacks are inside hack jobs. They're all from
Of course.
Don't give me that, stuff like that.
No. That's stuff. I believe. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin. There's a delay.
I was going to say, what are your thoughts on the gaming side? I was just finishing up. What are your thoughts?
In our case, since it doesn't add any value, we don't resell the game. So if you're a douchebag, toxic or something, you're immediately eliminated. Yeah. But I believe there is a way to go around this in a positive way, because I understand the value. You hack, your account gets banned, you need to rebuy the game, and then you keep hacking and you keep rebuying the games, because many of these hackers, they subscribe on hacking software. But I believe you can do a sweet spot. For example, let's take appeal, like clothing appeals, right? That everyone understands. When you're in the military, you can't have the camouflage stuff that you buy in your local store, because that thing would not last a day. You need to have the real deal. You need to have real uniform that would last for thousands of kilometers and whatever. And if someone is an enthusiast, it's cool. You can buy these copy versions, right? Then you cater to the two segments. You can have one that's doing high end and one that's doing low end. Of course, in clothing, there are a lot more. To pull that into gaming, you could have the unhackable segment. What does that mean? You add blockchain. You had like a paywall, just a simple paywall. The game would cost you $1 to get a Prime membership. Yeah. And you need to verify your phone number and your email. Now you have 4 ways. So if someone is hacking, they're completely banned and they're thrown away. And the people who stay, who knows that everyone have to have these hours, these features, they know that will not be hacked. You understand me? So you know that these people, and something that we have done is, we have this hour rate, and there are lots of secret things that I don't want to reveal, but something that we check. For example, if you have a Counter-Strike account and you have more than 1,000 hours, you can play competitively, you can play for cash. If you have a new account with like 20 hours or less than 300, just like, dude, They write us, why can't I play for cash? Dude, you're a smurf or a cheater. We know that. I'm not. You're telling me that you play to this rank in 300 hours? Like, not a chess. We know the industry. Like,
for the audience, just explain that, or I'll quickly just mention. He said that there's a threshold to be able to compete competitively for money. And just remember how sensitive that is. That's like saying Michael Jordan playing a pickup game with a mask on. You know what I mean? Like a one-on-one pickup game with someone random, and it's $1 million tournament or something crazy like that, but he's wearing like a mask and nobody knows any idea who Michael Jordan is. And then he ends up beating everybody. That's the problem in esports right now, is that we're without a proper KYC, without a proper AML, which does the banking side of things, but KYC for know your customer, which is who is this face, which I don't even know the face of. So this professional player on Twitch or stream or whatever, and now on Yamzu is playing for money. So he's saying they created a technology threshold that says you need to play for X amount of hours, prove it through KYC on our system, and then you can compete for dollars and cents. And if you're professional and you're really good at it, great, no problem. But you got to hit this threshold first. Did I explain that correctly?
Exactly. Yeah. That is correct. And also, it is a way the system also reads your behavior, because there are these barriers that we know of, and we cannot afford to have a toxic community because we don't own the IP. We cannot resell it. Like I said, we can't hassle the customers or hustle them. I mean, that's sort of correct. So it's very easy to do. And if it's us, that's a bootstrap company with our limited resources, can do it. Why can't PUBG with the revenue of 800 million a year? I mean, let's be honest, they don't spend it on graphics and technical polishing, because we know that game is buggy as hell even after all these years. But there is an incentive of having people to rebuy the game and so on. And it is so easy to do these features, like just read it, like this thing that I said, very simple, like if you, unless you invite that person, for example, if I invite you, you're my friend and you have a new account and I play only with you, then it doesn't matter. But it is so easy to do the barriers, and especially with the blockchain, because let's face it, blockchain is unhackable because everyone have the same code on their machine. And everything that's hacked is hacked on the inside, like you said. So we also add that extra feature of where we could check the games manually. It doesn't happen often because people play with their friends, but there are a few of these bizarre cases where the person had like, what was it, like a kill to death ratio, for you who don't know, is how many you kill compares to dying, and it's like around 1. Even the professional gamers, like, a good game is 1.5 or something. And then he suddenly had 2, which is like better than the world elite. For like 10 games in a row, it was just immediately blocked. Like, dude, that's it. Whoa, what happened? What, you develop skills overnight?
And right there is the future of gaming technology, competition gaming technology. Once you get to the professional player status, Yamzu Esports manages some of the biggest professionals in League of Legends. And you know, Asyad, League of Legends is a team of 5. It's just like an NBA team. They travel around the world. They have sports psychologists. They have chefs. It's one of the most rigorous training sessions of any of the esports. And League of Legends is an individual sport at the same time. And individuals' talent makes up the whole team without any one individual holding their lane or holding their thing. So if what you just said, I sat next to my friend or my player that I manage, super illegal, but I do that, and boom, I fail 10 games in a row, KDA of like, point 0.6, 0.8, 1, and then boom, 2, 2.5, 3. You guys are going to ask questions, and I have him sitting next to me. Of course, I'm, going to do these things. As a gamer, these are inherent problems that are just, once you involve money, and then it becomes more salivating. There's more saliva coming out of the mouth, which gets people more hungry. Take away money and replace in just competition itself, you're still going to have equally amount of cheaters, because people want to win, and you have a ranking system that should be noted to our audience, is that your ranking system allows you to see where. So of course, any human nature wants to be ranked higher. So you guys have put together a few different things, which I heard, to get in front of essentially cheating. a higher level
Yes.
cheating.
Yes, I think one of the mistakes that many companies commit is when you're big, you stop caring. And that's very odd. Like Amazon, maybe they treat their employees like crap. I mean, but when it comes to a customer, they treat you awesome and they're the biggest. Netflix, they are by far the biggest, and like their service keeps getting better and better. So there's nothing that says you have to get worse just because you become bigger. And it had
I think
also,
that's a point to mention, because unfortunately people judge these companies on you got too big too quick, but the customer satisfaction from like Amazon or Netflix has stayed the same all throughout. Now, is the technical support guy on the back end of Netflix happy, or can he make more money working for Google? That's not my problem as the customer, right? As the customer, I pay my money to Amazon, and that's it. Of course, like you said earlier, very important note, because it's happening in gaming too. If you're buying a cheap product, you better damn well believe that cheap chair or pillow or anything is being made in a sweatshop in China or in these rural countries. So pay the good money and pay the good headphones or whatever, and that's what essentially you're saying.
exactly. And also, think about it long term, because first of all, you need to spend X amount of money. Now, you can either spend it on damage control or you can spend it on good marketing. We're not the best, we do our best. But when we Google, I don't find many people saying, Yamzu sucks, they are the worst thing on the planet, because we go out of our way. It's much easier to maintain, it's ethically, and it creates incredible vibes in the team, and it's also good business sense. Take a look at, for example, CD Projekt Red behind The Witcher. I'm sure you've heard about them, right? They're going to release they might have some tech crunch culture and all that, but that put aside, they have such an incredible goodwill among the community that people, Cyberpunk 2077, it's going to sell so insanely well just on that. While other companies that develop, let's say, esports titles, Star Wars titles, like with the loot boxes, EA, and this is factual, the most downvoted Reddit thread, because and then you need to spend the resources on the damage control. So if you're going to spend the resources, why not spend on something good? I mean, forget gaming. If you're going to buy something, why would you not buy something crappy and spend the money on repairing it instead of buying something good and you have less headache? It's common sense.
It's funny because if you look at the console, we're both PC guys, but if you look at console gaming, for some reason, like Nintendo Switch has in my opinion, they didn't innovate like immensely. Let's be honest. They didn't like someone correct me if I'm wrong. I have a Switch. I'm just a PC gamer, but they didn't super innovate anything. That they just put the pieces together, right? But they didn't get any pushback, not one. In fact, they got the opposite of pushback, and they're off the shelf selling for 3 times the price right now. The Wii, a few years back, almost a decade and a half back, it had a ton of problems, man. And I thought they innovated like hell. I love the Wii. When the Wii came out, it was the first version of like we handheld. It wasn't VR, but it was that VR moment, getting us ready to put on the goggles for the VR. You play tennis or whatever. But they had a ton of bugs with software and malware coming in and hacks and this and that. PC gamers inherently have that problem every single time we release a game. Every single time you release a game, there's going to be some hacker that comes in and does something. At the very least, being able to put their own avatar and walk around with, today there's a bunch of racism going on, and you don't want any of that infiltrating your game. A toxic society is different from hackers, right? I want to segue into a toxic society of people talking bad, doing bad things, which is the Riot Games problem in League of Legends. And then you have the hacking problem in Warzone, right? So that's a technology problem versus a community problem. You've solved that technology problem in a lot of things. Your community doesn't have a toxicity problem, but because you're a gamer and because you're so deep in it, you've been in it for such a long time, love to get your opinion. what's going on the toxicity side in like Sweden? And is there any technologies that you've heard of, like Riot's working on? I'm sure you've heard with League of Legends, to kind of think of an AI to clean up this toxicity, since we're on the topic of technology.
Well, the toxicity is really hard because, like, I believe Blizzard did that when people wrote easy game. They changed the easy to I'm an insecure person. I'm sorry about that. But there are always ways to circumvent it. People wrote easy dash Z. And
yeah,
I believe what's important is the culture, because in the United States, everything's taken to the extreme. Like when you try to improve people's lives, like, oh my God, that's like one side or you're this side, but it doesn't work like that. If people don't want to get offended, for example, then everyone sits in a white room with no colors, with nothing, just a screen. There is no impression coming in whatsoever. And then we're guaranteed that they will not be offended or hurt or sad in any way. That's an extreme. So what you need to do, and I believe, is not reduce the negative, it's increase the positive. And that is a different take. I remember when I was in the military in Sweden, the team building there, it's on a different level. This is not some weekend stuff that you do, but you ventilate and you create a strong leadership. So it's also in the company's culture. You don't do things because it's right. You do things because you want people to feel good. What do I mean by that? Is you don't decrease the negative, you increase the positive. So you create a culture by, instead of me worrying about he or she or they, what they say, I make them feel so comfortable that if I say something and they feel bad, that they could directly approach me. And that's what I mean by increasing the positive instead of reducing the negative, because then everyone can feel comfortable and be themselves, and everyone else who doesn't feel comfortable can approach it in a very mature way. In the military, we did these extreme exercises that I do not recommend to the listeners unless you're a really mature group. There was one where we sat the squad in a group around chairs, and one person had to sit with their back against the group, and the group had to talk about him or her.
Oh.
Like, really talk. That guy is so dumb. I can't believe he don't know how to put up tent. And it have to be like things that annoy you. Then when you turn back, you're not allowed to argue. You're only allowed to ask questions like, what do you mean I'm so dumb I couldn't put up the tent? It took you 2 hours. Okay, thank you for the feedback. And no argue. And that thing, sometimes you cry, sometimes. And after that, everything is ventilated. Everyone takes it to heart. And even if it's really harsh time and harsh questions, then you take it to the next level. And all right, guys, help me improve on the tents. And obviously, everyone, not a problem, dude. We got this. Go do something else. And that's very important in the company culture.
Wow. Yeah.
And a problem with many of these companies, like you're young, you don't have experience. As segue, to be a programmer, you need to study, right? To be a chef, you need to be a chef. But leadership, people assume like, oh my God, I can become a leader. Like there's a reason why you need 4 years of management or 1.5 years in the military to become an officer, or 4 years, because it's not a given skill. And many of these people spread that toxic, negative thing in their culture, and it spreads downwards. And unfortunately, you see this opposite reaction where the community fight back. So by being just like forthcoming, like, guys, like this is our culture because it's supposed to be positive for everyone, not because society says so, it's because it's the right thing to do. Everyone needs to feel comfortable. Like society is not accurate. Once upon a time, they said we should burn women. That doesn't mean that it's right. That someone stood up eventually and it stopped. So the leadership takes the responsibility, and that always trickles down. It's always the leader's responsibility. I had this, one of my commanding officers, a captain who trained over 19,000 Marines in Sweden, he said something that I still remember. He said, like, the leader's job is to facilitate the environment and the tools so everyone can do the best they can do. That's it.
Yeah. Just to put a foundation.
That's it, exactly. You're not the boss. Everyone is supposed to do their best. And in the military, it's about survival, death, it's extreme situations. You need to make sure people have their tools, the knowledge, the guidance, the leadership, whatever they need, like do this, do that. If they don't know, you help them so they can do their best. And that always comes down to the company's leadership. Spread good vibes and go down. I remember when we had these female streamers, when we gave these rules of engagement, don't be a dick, don't be a drunken uncle. they came out and they said, this was 4 years ago, they said, this is the best thing, where companies, streaming companies, you can basically say, you can start I Love Hitler on Facebook and they wouldn't forbid you.
Yeah, true.
But you have a company here that's not big, but still come out and say, don't be a dick. That's our first rule of engagement. It's so refreshing. And
Boom.
I believe it's also important for the employees.
I have to say, what a important point, because the most toxic places in the world are these social media groups. They're supposed to be the most educational, sort of say, that's what they think, but they are the single most hurtful place for any person to go and learn about how to become a worse person, because very little of them. I'm not talking about the gardening groups. They teach wonders. I'm not talking about the cycling groups. They do wonders for health. I'm talking about exactly what you said. There's things that you can start online that are insane. But as soon as a gamer drops a flame, he's on the front page and banned from everything always. As soon as that streamer said something about China, when all that China stuff was happening, he got banned from the Hearthstone championship, the champion taking away his money. And that's total BS. And that situation was BS. Another situation where someone's calling someone out is not BS, and they deserve to be banned. And like you said, but there needs to be accountability.
It's the T-shirt. Sorry to interrupt you, Kevin. It's the T-shirt example again.
Yeah.
They don't care if the guy got banned as long as they get to enjoy their game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I saw the Blizzard CEO, he never apologized for it. Check out Jim Sterling, you have the Jimquisition. He does a good essay. The guy never apologized, and they show a new game, so it's all forgiven. So if people don't care about a T-shirt, that's an insignificant thing. Imagine what they would sacrifice for their game. And it's always up to you. I mean, you can be a monster. Just look at politicians in any country in the world, and they still succeed. But we don't want that culture, because I don't want toxic individuals. I want people to keep pushing each other always to improve and be better. And if they can't, that's completely cool. That makes my job easier. It makes the community easier. We barely have any complaints, relatively speaking, about the toxicity or the culture or anything like that. Like, just create your own game, have fun. And the most extreme games that we have is like Sweden destroy Finland or Finland destroy Sweden, which we think is hilarious. As teams So you can always create that, and you will attract to yourself people that spread these positive vibes. And this is not some hold your hands and kumbaya. It have worked for the military for hundreds of years, if not thousands. It works for elite athletes for hundreds of years, if not thousands. Like, they can look at hockey. They throw themselves in front of the puck. That thing could kill you just to protect the goal so the team could win. You could cultivate any culture that you want.
No, I think it's very important that I've never heard of another company that's hosting tournaments that has taken a stance that technology is key for the purposes of that. It's not just, oh, we have this technology. When I talk about Yamzu for the last 2 years since we've met, a little less, we talk about the blockchain side because that's our passion. That's how we got introduced. We got introduced from blockchain. We were throwing a blockchain event for the users. We reached out to Yamzu because we found them and we said, wow, join our event. And that turned into a different relationship. But the blockchain aspect of it, everybody says that buzzword of like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you guys are a blockchain company. But what did we do? What did Yamzu do in blockchain was for the purposes of, now you heard after today talking with Asiad, is that they not only solve security. That's a main overarching issue of KYC. I got to know who you are. I got to know who the gamer is to be able to have you, step two, go put money into the token, which is part of the blockchain, which adds another layer of security through your fiat. And that's the financial side. So now you have the security side of identity. Then you have the financial security side. And then the third side is the hacking, fair play, anti-cheating side, which is another layer of version of security, but we'll call that gameplay security. We'll call that in-game security. So that the blockchain in and of itself, of our users who know what the blockchain is, that was 3 different pieces that Yamzu has utilized to solve that major problem. For the people who don't know what blockchain is, definitely research it. But what that means is that he took essentially the internet and used it for 3 different pieces. So what came of the internet of search, communication and file sharing, that's exactly kind of what Asya did with the blockchain inside of Yamzu. So it's important to note that security is a major factor. And moving forward, we'll end it on this with Yamzu. Give us what you can. Give the audience a little tickle of if what's to come, or if it's what's being enhanced, what's to look for the audience. I know we're going to do some really cool things outside of Sweden, so we'll leave that there for that note. But inside of Sweden, and before we get out of Sweden, and by the way, Yamzu's global. So when I say in Sweden, out of Sweden, they just really own the Swedish market. So when we go for global expansion, that's what I meant. We have some rollout plans coming up. But give us some notes on Yamzu and what are the users looking forward to this summer?
Actually, more games, and they're pushing us to add even more games because gamers play a variety of games, and we've been pushing Dota behind closed lines, behind closed doors, I mean, and it's going very, very fast, and they always keep asking for more. So what we are doing now, we are talking to independent small developers, so we could start adding more and more titles next year. Our goal is to become the ecosystem for esports. So you go there, you want to compete against someone else, you check which games are, and you can play with your friends. And that's a future for us, because that's a future for all esports. You know, it have to be community driven, and you give the community the freedom to do whatever they want.
So I just want to make sure I heard that. Obviously, we're going to add the biggest games. You said one of the biggest in the world. But your passion is to involve the ground level developer, the guy who's going to be the next Angry Birds, the next Fortnite, and say, hey, guys, indie developers, top level corporations, come on, bring your game, and let's incorporate the Yamzu system within your game. Did I understand that part correctly?
Absolutely, too? Absolutely. And they don't even have to be the next Angry Bird, you know,
right.
Like you could have a loyal install base of 50,000, 100,000, whatever you want. Here you go. Here's our platform. Integrate your game. This is the funnels that work. This is what worked for your community. Here are the tools that we have developed. Go for it. We will have a generous revenue share. It's your IP. It's your passion. You should have the lion's share. We're here to help you and spread that good vibe. And I believe lots of these small, passionate indie people that really love their products, they're going to love the concept because it's so easy for them to understand.
Yeah, I think the indie developers definitely need a boost. They need some assistance and support. So we heard from the founder CEO of Yamzu, Asya, that they are looking to work with indie developers for the betterment of the community, because if you have 50, 100K followers, less, more, whatever the number is, there's a home for you in Yamzu. There's a home for you for your tournaments to be hosted, so that your community also has a second home. They go for your game, and they also go for competitions to your second home. So definitely learn more about the Yamzu platform. Reach out to the Yamzu platform. We'll get the information going when we post the video. And to anybody interested, reach out to us and we'll connect you with the Yamzu team. Asya, thank you so much. Jay has joined us again. Jay, any follow-up before we let Asya go?
I think fantastic panel. You guys killed it. So much to learn from you both. Asyad always enlightening us. You know, just on that last note, obviously, yes, I think, you know, the growth of Yamzu and the next steps is to add more games. But, you know, my question to you, Asyad, is what does that look like from the technology side? How easy is it to, you know, add more games, add more layers to the platform to make it, you know, more interesting to different audiences?
If we're working directly with the developer and we have access to the API, we're talking about 1 to 2 weeks to implement a new game. It's not more complicated than that. It's already built from the ground up, prepared for that. So it's a very fast process.
Fantastic. And then it just becomes a simple way to interact with the platform as far as the
Absolutely,
play.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Great, guys. I think we hit a lot of points today. It was, you know, absolutely killer panel.
I appreciate your time, Asya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gents. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, we're gonna say goodbye to Asya and the Yamzu team. Thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll anybody again interested, reach out and learn more. That's it. Have a great day, brother. Awesome. Always awesome to learn more about that. I learned two things. We're working with them for 2 years, and I learned something that I didn't even know about the anti-cheating, obviously that's what the blockchain does, but that's their main pillar. I need to ask him to add that to the website, because I guess that's such a he's such a community guy that he's so shy, not shy, but to put it on the website, like, we are the face of anti-cheating. Like, someone needs to do that, and they're really doing it.
It's a huge thing, obviously, because it protects the integrity of the platform. A lot of people, when you bring up the tokenization in the aspect of playing against each other, that doesn't always hit the right triggers. So that's definitely something that you'd want to put in the forefront, that it's protected. The integrity of the platform is there first and foremost, to protect the user, the player, and to just make it more fun instead of
this is where that association comes in. Just out of respect, I don't want to say the name, publicly, but the association that does the compliance, the one we were just talking about, they do a compliance check on companies, with tech companies that essentially comply you to go to gambling, anti-cheating, anti-fraud, hacking, things like that. And this, Jay, would be a fantastic one to kind of get that certification for the betterment of like a gambling platform or a tournament hosting platform, because it's right in line with what that company is looking for. But it should be in line with what the companies like Yamzu are also looking for, because as we move on, I get it. It's an analog way of thinking, more certification, more licenses, but it still is the overarching kind of professional thing to do.
Exactly. And they work especially with the gambler, the gambling, the bookies, all of that. So because this is kind of right in the middle, it's something to look at, especially when you want to have those badges on, to make people, parents, anyone that's playing, feel a lot better that the people behind it are not robbing you, essentially.
Yeah, I think that I go back to what we said. Yamzu is doing a lot for the community of fraud, we'll call it, as an overarching, because fraud means, like I said, sitting next to a professional player and acting as if and just stealing money from people, because of course that guy is going to smurf on any player in the world. That's number one of fraud. Hacking is the most high level technical. So if you can hack, that's obviously a big problem. We need to get involved and stop. But now, as we involve, younger children are getting more access to these tokenized e-bucks and platforms. That's not good. So we need to get and handle this problem faster, quicker, stronger. So yeah, I think we learned a lot about how
the achievement, Kevin, is, these guys, started a long time ago, Yamzu, and are one of the first, they're one of the only remaining, I would say, original ICO-ish projects that are out there and still out there doing a fantastic job for the people that have invested and for the people that hold the token, which is of value.
It became usable. And just for the audience to know, the ICO that they did was not an ICO that you can go find on like Binance or Bittrex or any of the larger exchanges out there. That's not, ICOs don't always need to be exchange traded tokens. They can remain for the use case value. STOs were security tokens to securitize assets. ICOs, a lot of them were scams, but also can be use cases. Yamzu tokens became a use case. If you hold Yamzu tokens, which they used to be called Yamzu points, you can go now gamble, or they don't call it gambling. You can play on the tournament with other friends that paid for Yamzu tokens. This is a massive use case scenario for a crypto token, because just like going into the bank and buying euros with dollars, or buying yen with euros. We bought Yamzu tokens with fiat. And now kids or people, adults, are playing competitions with Yamzu coin. So that's huge. That's why Jay was saying the only remaining ICOs, because I would go out on the limb. Don't quote me, everybody, but I'm going to go out on the limb and predict that they are the only remaining gaming and esports ICO left. And if they're not the only one left, they're the biggest one, like actually doing something. Gamified,
Right.
tokenized, and esports. That's the three buzzwords.
Only ones that have done it right, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Another great panel.